November, there were 2 cases, namely one at home and one in a private clinic. Both were fully vaccinated with Covaxin. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as regard to Part B of the question, the total number of PCR tests effected by my ministry and private laboratories and clinics from 25th October to 7th November 2021 on the local community is 32,593 and are as follows. Central Health Laboratory, 4,410, Airport Health Laboratory, 14,840, Novalab, 4,189, Welkin, 8,298, City Clinic, 743, and Eagle Clinic, 113. The number of PCR tests found positive from 25th October to 7th November 2021 in the community stands at 1,538. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to the number of rapid antigen tests effected by my ministry from 25th October to 7th November 2021 on the local community is 42,001, which were effected in our COVID testing centers, in our regional hospitals, and other public health institutions. The number of rapid tests found positive from 25th October to 7th November in the community stands at 13,698. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with regard to Part C of the question, my ministry is at present using the following drugs in the management and in the treatment and management of COVID-19 patients in accordance with international guidelines. Steroids, dexamethasone 6 mg injection, stock available is 28,526. Antibiotics, first is ceftriaxone, commonly known as Rosefin, 1 gram injection. The stock available is 247,320. Meropenem, 1 gram injection. Stock available 3,640. Meropenem injection, 500 milligram injection, 3,090. Colistin, 1 mega unit injection. Stock available 19,040. And vancomycin, 1 gram injection. Stock available 15,300. Anticoagulant, another drug. It's called Inexo.
One second, Honorable Minister.
The question is very specific. It is on tocilizumab, Ronapril, and molnupiravir. He doesn't need to give me all the stock that he has in his ministry, otherwise we'll be here all day, sir.
Sure. Honorable Leader of Opposition, I understand you taking a point of order. Honorable Minister, I think it's fair that he give adequate description, but Honorable Minister, be mindful to answer the question. Thank you very much.
I continue, Deputy Speaker, sir. Lovenox, 0.4 milliliters injection, 76,400. The Drugs and Therapeutic Committee of my ministry has conveyed approval for the use of other antivirals such as favipiravir. My ministry has 17,000 tablets of this drug in stock. In September 2021, the Clinical Biological Group has recommended the procurement of tocilizumab injections and eventually remdesivir for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. I wish to inform the House that 76 pre-filled syringes of tocilizumab available on the local market have been procured and have already been used for the treatment of 19 patients from 2nd to 19th October 2021. Furthermore, my ministry has already initiated tender procedures since 5th of October to procure additional 300 injections, but based on the increasing trend of COVID-19 patients, my ministry has increased the quantity to be procured to 600 injections at the cost of around 20,000 rupees per injection. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the House may wish to note that tocilizumab is still under patent from the Roche laboratories. Hence, there is no substitute or biosimilar products. The local representative of the manufacturer of the drug has informed that the drug may be available by December this year, depending upon the production capacity of the manufacturer. As regards to other drugs, namely Ronaprev and Molnupiravir, these drugs are not available on the local market and even on international market. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'm informed that Ronaprev is a new molecule developed by Merck and has been approved for use by WHO. Regarding Molnupiravir, this is also a newly developed antiviral COVID-19 drug by Merck. It is currently being used in UK, but only, but has not yet been commercialized. The Drugs and Therapeutic Committee of my ministry has already given its approval for the use of these drugs in the management of COVID-19 patients. If I'm not mistaken, Mauritius is the second country after UK to have approved the treatment of COVID-19 patients with Ronaprev and Molnupiravir. My ministry also closely monitoring the follow-up on the production of these drugs and will procure same as soon as they are available. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I wish to highlight that my ministry has always been at the forefront to procure adequate quantities of COVID-19 vaccines in order to administer same to maximum number of our citizens to protect them from the pandemic with or without outcry from various quarters. Likewise, my ministry will ensure that we procure the newly approved drugs for the treatment, care, and management of COVID-19 patients. I seize this opportunity to thank the honorable members from both sides of the House, the staff of the National Assembly, and various government departments to have set the example of coming forward for the booster dose in order to encourage the population at large. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I reiterate my appeal made to the House at our last sitting to understand and appreciate the paradigm shift that this government has made in the management of COVID-19 pandemic, from containment of infection to a successfully vaccination program, and now to a new normal under the constant surveillance system, ranging from prevention to la prise en charge of COVID-19 patients. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I likewise send my deepest condolences to all the families bereaved by COVID-19. Paradigm shift there is, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because looking at the figures, in August 2021, there were fewer people vaccinated and 3 deaths per week. In November, the last figure you gave us, the Minister gave us, 70% nearly people vaccinated and 42 deaths in 1 week. How does the Honourable Minister, reconcile indeed this paradigm shift, that the more that we vaccinate, the more people are dying?
Honourable Minister, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, patients, any death, as I said it earlier, be it 3 in August, be it this week, last week, be it more than 20, any death c'est un décès de trop. But Mr. Speaker, sir, how can we, at this moment, justify any death? Be it vaccination, be it not vaccination, be it whether with comorbidities, be it whether it is aged people, but we have to understand, the world it's getting out to other countries. No one can justify these answers, even if the death today is more, even if the vaccination is more, we cannot justify any death. And that is a wrong attitude to justify, to start justifying any death that we have.
I don't think the Minister understood my question at all. Who is talking about justifying what?
Mr.
We are
Speaker,
talking,
sir,
we are saying, Mr. Speaker, we are saying, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
One question at a time. Minister, you done?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I heard
Don't put
Honorable
fingers.
Béranger
Honourable
said
Minister.
something,
Honourable
and I want
Minister.
him to withdraw the word.
Order. Order. Order, please. Honourable Minister. Order, 1 second. Honourable Minister, allow me, please. Honourable Minister, I don't want any pointing fingers. Are you done with your answers, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, I've heard Honorable Béranger say shit.
Order. Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, I'm the one regulating the conduct of this House. I'm very happy to allow maximum question. I didn't hear it. Have you said it, Mr. Minister? Do you know who said it?
I've heard it from Honorable.
Fine.
You can listen to the recording later.
Now we'll go to your question. Continue.
Thank you very much. You can listen to the recording later on.
Yeah, sure.
Now we're going to come back to this. Nobody is justifying anything. We are asking you that the more the facts tell you, your own figures tell you, although nobody believes your figures. Nobody believes that everybody knows that they are being manipulated. Nevertheless, whatever you have given us, you are giving us the figure. The more that you vaccinate, the more people are dying. As a Minister of Health, tell us why. What is the wrong? Are you using the wrong vaccination? Do you not have the right medicine to treat people? Are you letting people die at home? Why are people dying more today? Last week, 42 people, where in August only 3 people were dying per week.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order. Yes. Let's allow the Minister to reply. This is what... honorable members, I'm here to listen to questions and answers. I want to listen to your constituents as well want to listen to questions and answers. Please, Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this is called making politics from the cadaver of the people. This is called making politics with cadaver of people, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now I will give the answer. First, he said that we are manipulating figures. Mr. Speaker, sir. Order. Shameful to this because figures, death certificate, all are being sent to civil status office, and all these figures, the honourable member can go and check it again. No death can be manipulated. If any death is being manipulated, so he is blaming the officers working in the civil status. He is blaming the doctors. They are manipulating the figures. It means that he has no he doesn't have
I want to listen
respect
to the Minister.
For those officers. This is called manipulation of figures. Now, secondly, he said that I have to explain it again because probably last time in the PNQ I did explain it, why vaccination has come, what are the government doing. It was at a time when we didn't have any knowledge about COVID-19. You have to go for confinement. You don't know how to treat. You don't know how it is transmitted. And gradually, we have been shifting from confinement to vaccination and now giving focus, particular attention for those where vaccination isn't working, for those people who are contracting COVID-19, and this is a focus. And that's right what he said, and he put that question to me, that what are the medication we are giving? How are we managing COVID-19 patients? That's very good. That has been the paradigm shift. That's what we are saying. And this has been not the trend only in Mauritius. The leader of the opposition is as if it's only COVID-19 is present only in Mauritius. And no countries, we don't have any COVID. All people in all other countries, they are all getting well, getting cured. I think he has to go to just see beyond what is being, daily being reported and not just fix his attention only on people who are dying and that making politics out of the, of the death of others.
Mr. Speaker, enormous pressure is being sector doctors to report other than COVID, and that is even in the press. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, last week, on Friday, he announced that out of 42 deaths, 22 were fully vaccinated. That means 52% rate of death were vaccinated persons. Does he know that the studies in the UK show that only 0.51%, that is 100 times less, vaccinated people are dying, and the same figure, a little bit higher, for Italy. So tell us then why it is that 52% of persons that died last week were fully vaccinated. This must be, Mr. Deputy Speaker, a world record.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Now, again, it's good that you're making the comparison Mauritius with UK, but at the same time, do also compare the comorbidities that we do have in Mauritius. I'm inviting the honorable member to come and say that, yes, our population is 20% diabetic population. Does he know that diabetes will have an impact on every cell of your body? Diabetes patients will have hypertension, will have cardiac comorbidities. Does he know the number of people who are still having comorbidities who have not been vaccinated? What has been his contribution to request, to make a special appeal to those people who haven't been vaccinated, who have multiple comorbidities, who have multiple medical problems? And what is his appeal? He's comparing Mauritius, the number of people being vaccinated, and compared to UK, but is he comparing about the population who is suffering from so many chronic conditions? This is not, and what is his appeal? What is his contribution? This he is not saying.
Personal remarks, I'll forget it because I'm wasting my time. Mr. Speaker, I'll give you some figures to the Honourable Minister. Qatar has 16.7% diabetes. The death rate is 0.05. UAE has 16.3% diabetes. The death rate is 0.06. Here, last week, 52%. So you can multiply and find out. And, Mr. Speaker, I can take Saudi Arabia as well. And I can take Malaysia as well. So there are many countries with high rates of diabetes and very, very, very low rates of death. So is it your treatment for diabetes which is wrong? Is it your treatment for COVID which is wrong? Why are people dying like flies in Mauritius and you sitting there incompetent as usual?
Mr. Deputy.
1 second.
Sitting there.
I do not want any kind of qualification for people dying. Please. Order on my left. Minister, can you please answer?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, he has said to me that I am sitting over here incompetent. In fact, he is saying incompetent to all those. Mr. Deputy.
We don't go in cheap politics right now. We go in questions and answers. Please answer.
Yes. That's what he said, Deputy Speaker, sir. That's what he said. Later on, you listen to it. Later on, you listen to it, Deputy Speaker, sir.
Order. Let him answer. Will allow the minister to answer? Please,
Yes.
Minister.
He compared us to different countries where we have a high, the population, percentage of population suffering from diabetes. In that way, he's again, what's that? He's, in that way again, he's blaming all the doctors who are treating diabetes. Deputy Speaker, sir.
Speak up. I'll listen to you.
He is blaming. He is saying our doctors working in the diabetic clinic, working in the hospital, working in the private sectors, all the medications that government is procuring, all medication available in Mauritius, all that, you know, it's all that all are ineffective. It's only honorable member, leader of opposition is right, and our doctors are not competent. They are not good at treating diabetes. They are not good at giving, you know, the vaccination that we are doing. Again, all those approved vaccination by WHO, these vaccines also are ineffective. This is the conclusion of the honorable leader of the opposition. He will keep on giving the same statement, and that would be the answer to him.
It is my opinion because there's an independent report on diabetes treatment in Mauritius. I raised it one day in the PNQ that showed Mauritius is about 5 times the world average in death of diabetes. You should know your file. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the disaster concerning ordering of medicine. And this is why people are dying. Because we're giving them Panadol, Lomex mouthwash, and we're giving them stop cough for the cough. Where we should be giving them proper medicine. Tocilizumab, Mr. Speaker, approved by WHO on the 5th of July. The minister only bought 16 or 18 for 18 people, whereas there have been hundreds of deaths since July. No one is in stock today at the ministry. Tocilizumab. Now, Mr. Speaker, Ronapriv, again, approved since August. Tocilizumab was approved 4 months ago, and his tender only on the 5th of October, 4 months later. Ronapriv approved on 26 August in the UK. Only now, 2 months later, approved by Mauritius, not one single stock. And Molnupiravir, Mr. Speaker. Many countries have pre-ordered. Many countries, Australia, Malaysia, USA, Singapore, all these are pre-ordered. In Mauritius, 0 pre-order, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is what the Mauritian people rightly call incompetence.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I'll be back to what the honourable member has said on the diabetes. 5% is not controlled. I believe that every member should know that diabetes is a chronic condition, and it starts by first a lot of personal changes in your life, especially concerning diet and exercise. And I wish this honourable member to set an example, to inform, to put his contribution, how to advise people to be a model and so far he hasn't done that. Now, second, my question is, the second part of the question about the medication, that he has said that patients are getting Panadol and other drugs, but not those what he has mentioned. Now, I'll give you the treatment for COVID infection dated 1st November. What should be given to asymptomatic patients? Treatment for mild symptoms with paracetamol. This is not mine. This is from the committee. This is from the expert. And the honourable member is saying that we should not be given these drugs. Use of anti-inflammatory drugs, corticosteroid, including dexamethasone, is contraindicated. So I'm just reading what is there in the protocol. I can give him a copy if you wish later on. And at the same time, when should be other drugs be given, symptomatic cases. This is not mine protocol. This is the protocol of doctors. This is the protocol of specialists. Now, concerning those 2 drugs, what the honourable member has said, tocilizumab and the other drug, now I will make an appeal to this member. It is, in fact, very challenging to procure this drug. And I know that as per your disclosure of declaration of asset, you hold some 43,000 shares in that company.
Order! 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 I just want to say it's my first PNQ, and I think it's very hard to be able to listen to either left or right or the minister. So I require some decorum, because this is what this house requires, decorum, and this is what all your constituents require from you. Question? Honorable. Order. 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 So, allow the question and answer. The minister was answering. I want to listen. I want to be able to listen if there is any personal attack so that I can get it. Please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll come back to those two medication, what the honorable member has stated. Anyway, these two drugs, and he has stated that the government, the ministry, has been late in procuring these drugs. Am I again saying these drugs, they are available, they are private companies in Mauritius representing these drugs, and these companies, I'm making an appeal to this member, to the honorable member, because this member is having shares in that company, and he can, as a citizen of Mauritius, somebody who is responsible, he can help the ministry, he can help the country, he can help the government to get these drugs. That would have been my appeal to him.
Order. Honorable Leader of Opposition, you have about 2 minutes if you want to
Respond to it in due time.
You have about 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Speaker, people's lives are at risk, so I will keep on with my questions. There is a drug called Paxlovid, which is in the pipeline to be approved. Is the Honourable Minister, again, to repeat the same mistakes he has done with tocilizumab? And this is why people are dying. People are dying because he's not giving the right medication and the right treatment in Mauritius. This is why people are dying. And that is the truth. Now, Paxlovid is about to be approved, one understands. Has the Ministry of Health issued any pre-order, contacted any of these persons, whether it is the Roche for tocilizumab, Ronapriv, Malnupiravir, Paxlovid? Has the Minister placed any pre-order so that we know at least you have opened the borders, it has been a disaster. People are dying, as I say, in large numbers. Have you at least given, and you know also that with diabetes, we are at higher risk than any other country. So knowing that we are higher risk than any country, you don't buy any medicine? Or you don't pre-order any medicine?
Okay, answer.
That's my question.
Last question of this.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I will come back with the medication that I'm learning it now from the honourable member, Suivez. Yes. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, again, that question of pre-order has come, and the leader of opposition is requesting the minister to order these drugs. So we don't have any respect to the Trade and Therapeutic Committee. We should not listen to the doctors, the experts who are treating the COVID-19 patient. We should not go according to the advice. And the minister should tell, tomorrow I'll go to the ministry and then ask my senior chief executive to order this medication. Is this the good governance? Is this good practice? The question is left to him. Now, the second part of the question about opening the borders. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I believe that he knows that very well, more than me. All passengers coming to Mauritius are vaccinated passengers. All they have to do a test before entering Mauritius, and all those passengers at the airport, they do a test unless they are going to a hotel, they have a different protocol of doing the test. How the leader of the opposition stating that passenger opening of borders is, correlating to the number of the cases, it means that he hasn't understood anything. He should understand that today we have local cases. We also do the testing for the variants, and we know very well why we start having local cases. He knows very well. At a time when we have the strategy to contain the virus, doing red zone, doing all those stuff to contain the virus, and we know what has happened. We know what has been in the funeral. We know what has been in the wedding and what has been in the dortoir. We all know how the virus starts spreading in the community. And we know how we have been responsible with the deconfinement, with step-by-step, stage on stage, and how our vaccination, this he is not going to tell us anybody, he is not going to tell us how vaccination has helped us, because 98% of those who are vaccinated are asymptomatic. These figures is important for us, and we have to focus on those 2%. See, broadly, if we have today more than 900,000 people who have done their vaccination, I understand there are many cases that we agree that we will continue to have community transmission with more cases, but at the same time, we know that the percentage of people who will be having mild symptoms or who will be having severe symptoms is very less. And the ministry is doing everything to help those people, to give treatment to those people, even if they are not vaccinated, even if they are vaccinated, but for one reason or the other, they don't have that immunity. They can't protect, the body cannot react to the virus. We are providing that care, and that's what we are doing. And we have been doing it from the beginning, and we'll continue to do it in that way.
Very short question.
The answer is long, Mr. Speaker.
No.
Not mine, eh? No, Mr. Speaker, this is my short question.
Short question.
He has given himself figures to show that positive cases have taken the roof, hit the roof, Mr. Speaker. 3 times, 4 times, and even the week previously. So we expect this week, Mr. Speaker, that there will be, unfortunately, many more deaths than even last week. Now, this is what I'm going to ask very seriously the Honourable Minister. I still say the word honourable. Now, Mr. Speaker.
Question.
Is he going to advise government to reintroduce social restrictions, allow people to go to work, but for the next 2 or 3 weeks, to break the cycle of transmission? Won't he agree that the only issue is to introduce restrictions on leisure, restrictions on other activities, so that in transport, closing of schools for the 2 or 3 weeks to come, so that the cycle of transmission is broken?
Thank you very much. Quick answer.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with all the respect, with all the decorum, I will always address the honourable leader of the opposition as honourable member, and at no time I will always give him that respect. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, expecting death, we don't want to expect any death, but we know that we have to give we have to put all our efforts, our energy in protecting those people who, during having contracted the virus and gradually developing severe symptoms and going into, at times, into a fatal state. We have to protect those people. I understand that what the honourable member wants to say, that we'll have, if we have more cases, and that will correspond into the death, but we pray that this situation should not happen, and we have to give our care to those people. And now, concerning the restriction measures, the restrictive measures that we have to put in place, it is, I believe, an appeal to all members of the House that should be individual as well. It can't be only enforcement of putting restrictions, of putting regulations to make people understand, but it is also an individual responsibility, because the virus is in the community. How should we protect ourselves, our families, our children? But at the same time, now if everyone will see how people are not using the barrier methods, how it's been, when you see what's going on in the beaches, what's going on in the shopping malls, all that. So I think it's a responsibility of each one of us to advise people to take all the precaution. And now the next is our booster dose. We should not forget that we've done the first dose. The vaccination campaign started in January, February, and now it's very important for us to do the booster dose, irrespective of whichever vaccine you have done, because it was at a time that you have to engage in the vaccination program, and now it is very important. It is an appeal again that all members should have that, send that information, send that advice to people, that we all have to do our booster dose, so that to protect ourselves, to protect our country, and we should protect especially those people who are, vulnerable people who can contract the virus and, have a very difficult outcome. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much, Leader of Opposition. Thank you very much, Minister. And the time is over. Honorable members, the table has been advised that PQB 1034, will be replied by Honorable Acting Prime Minister. PQB 1003 has been withdrawn. I'll call upon the fourth member of Port-Louis Maritime and Port-Louis East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. B993.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, in regard to Part A of the question, I am informed by the Registrar of Civil Status and the Ministry of Health and Wellness that the number of deaths registered is as follows. For year 2019, July 1,046, August 1,004, September 957. That is a total of 3,007 for the 3 months, out of which 744 were due to diabetes mellitus, 543 were due to heart disease, 377 due to cancer, 351 due to diseases of the respiratory system, such as pneumonia, asthma, pulmonary edema, and 992 due to other causes, such as cerebrovascular disease, hypertensive disease, injury, poisoning, accident, suicide. For year 2020, the corresponding number of deaths was as follows. July, 981, August, 982, September, 894. That is a total of 2,857, out of which 672 were due to diabetes mellitus, 559 were due to heart disease, 339 due to cancer, 315 due to diseases of the respiratory system, and 972 due to other causes, as I mentioned earlier, such as cerebrovascular disease, hypertensive disease, various injuries, poisoning, suicide, and accidents. Now, for the year 2021, the corresponding number of deaths was as follows. In July, 1,004. In August, 1,157. In September, 1,198. That is a total of 3,359 for the 3 months. As regards the precise causes, this information is still being compiled by the Ministry of Health. With regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that between the 1st of October and the 4th of November, there were 1,397 deaths recorded, out of which 122 have been attributed to COVID.
Thank you. Honorable Member.
Thank you. Monsieur le Premier ministre par intérim, en 3 mois, on a enregistré à peu près 1 millier de morts, plus que comparé 2021 à 2020. Rien qu'en octobre 2020, on a 498 morts de plus pour la même période de l'année dernière. Alors, ça, en septembre, on a 305 morts de plus que l'année dernière, 34% de plus. Est-ce que je peux savoir les causes exactes, si c'est relié avec la pandémie du Covid-19? Parce que, d'après ce qu'on sait, le nombre d'accidents de la route ont diminué, les nombres de morts sur nos routes ont diminué. On n'a pas eu inondations, tsunamis, etc. Pas d'air crash, mais comment on peut expliquer 1 millier de morts de plus en 3 mois?
Honorable Acting Prime Minister, please.
D'abord, Monsieur le Vice-président, je vais essayer de me retrouver dans l'arithmétique de Monsieur le député. Monsieur le député nous parle d'1 millier de cas en plus. Je pense qu'il se réfère au nombre cumulatif sur les 3 mois, juillet à septembre. Et moi, je n'arrive pas à 1 millier. Pour juillet à septembre 2019, 3007 morts. Juillet à septembre 2020, 2857. Pourquoi moins de morts en 2020? Je ne sais pas. Des meilleures prises en charge médicales? Peut-être, je ne le sais pas. En 2021, le chiffre correspondant est de 3359. Donc ce n'est pas 1 millier de morts en plus. Comparé à 2020, ce serait quoi? 450, un peu moins de 500. Comparé à 2019, ce serait 300. Donc n'exagérons pas à des fins politiques. Voyons les chiffres. Il y a certes une augmentation, mais pas d'1 millier de cas. Ensuite, monsieur le député vient nous dire 305 cas de plus en septembre 2021 comparé à 2020. Donc voyons les chiffres. 1198, allons dire 1200 en 2021, septembre 2020, et à peu près 900 en septembre. Donc il a raison, 300 cas environ de plus en septembre. Monsieur le député, le vice-président a appelé à un peu de respect de la pratique parlementaire. Je ne vous ai pas interrompu. Vous avez toute l'attitude à parler quand c'est votre tour. Donc j'espère la même politesse en retour. Le troisième élément, vous dites 449 cas de plus pour le mois d'octobre. Eh bien, moi, je n'ai pas les chiffres pour le mois d'octobre 2020. Vous n'avez pas demandé ces renseignements et je ne les ai pas offerts, je ne les ai pas sous la main. Donc, en termes de comptabilité, je pense que nous n'avons pas les mêmes données. Alors, vous posez la question, l'augmentation, parce qu'augmentation, il y a. Ce sont les faits objectifs. Il y a une augmentation. Serait-ce dû à la Covid? Je n'ai pas ces renseignements précis, mais sans doute, nous sommes cette année beaucoup plus impactés par la pandémie que l'année 2020 ou l'année 2019 où la Covid n'était même pas arrivée à Maurice. Nous savons d'une part qu'il y a eu un pic fin juillet à fin août, donc il y a un effet à retardement, certainement. Nous savons aussi que le virus Delta est désormais bien présent au sein de la communauté. L'expérience internationale nous indique qu'il y a normalement un cycle qui dure 4 semaines environ. C'est l'expérience d'autres pays. Donc qu'il y ait une augmentation de cas, c'est dans la logique de la pandémie. Et malheureusement, cela entraîne aussi des décès. Chaque décès, comme le disait mon collègue, chaque décès étant un décès de trop. Mais c'est le cas aujourd'hui, non seulement à Maurice. Il suffit de regarder les nouvelles à l'international. Que se passe-t-il en Grande-Bretagne? Que se passe-t-il en Allemagne? Que se passe-t-il en France? Malgré la vaccination. Et c'est pour cela que la priorité, c'est maintenant les doses de rappel. Malgré la vaccination, il y a un nombre conséquent de cas de la Covid à l'international, il y a un nombre conséquent de décès, y compris parmi les vaccinés, et c'est la question qu'on se pose en ce moment même en Amérique du Nord. Pourquoi aux États-Unis, il y a eu une recrudescence de la mortalité parmi les personnes vaccinées?
Merci, Monsieur le Vice-président. Monsieur le Premier ministre par intérim, je vous donne le chiffre pour octobre 2020, c'est 905, soit 500 de plus rien qu'en octobre, 498 plus précisément. Monsieur le Premier ministre, par intérim, le 25 septembre, vous faites une déclaration publique. Vous dites que le pic est derrière nous, alors qu'en août, on a 162 morts comparé à l'année dernière, c'est-à-dire 2020. Le mois qui suit, septembre, 301 et octobre, 500. Comment, basant sur quoi vous faites une déclaration de cette envergure pour dire à la population, et ce qui s'ensuit, c'est un assouplissement de toutes les conditions, conditions sanitaires qui étaient en place. N'est-ce pas une déclaration qui est irresponsable de votre part, Monsieur le Premier ministre par intérim?
Thank you. Honorable Acting Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Vice-président, soyons clairs. Le pays a été impacté par la Covid pour la première fois en 2020. Nous avons eu, pour l'année 2020, 10 morts, ce qui a été une tragédie nationale. C'est la première fois que nous avons perdu des compatriotes dus à la Covid. En 2021, la Covid nous est revenue à partir du mois de mars. Sur la base des chiffres, l'OMS procède à des analyses régulières. Et l'analyse de l'OMS, que j'ai rendue publique, avec l'accord du bureau de l'OMS à Maurice, démontre qu'effectivement, le pic, le plus grand nombre de cas de Covid et de mortalité que nous avions connus jusqu'au mois de septembre, c'était précisément le mois d'août, la période entre fin juillet et fin août. C'est ce que j'ai dit, c'est ce que j'ai expliqué à la population. La Covid n'est pas prévisible. C'est ce que nous indique l'expérience internationale. Qui aurait prévu qu'en ce moment, il y aurait une recrudescence de cas de Covid, précisément dans les pays où les gens sont les plus vaccinés? Israël a connu cela. Et maintenant, l'Angleterre, l'Allemagne et d'autres. Donc, dire qu'il y a eu un pic à un certain moment, c'est la vérité objective. Y aura-t-il un autre pic? Je ne le sais pas, personne ne le sait. Ni la science, ni la médecine ne peut prévoir ce qui va se passer. C'est comme cette question d'immunité collective, dont fait grand cas certains de l'autre côté de la Chambre. L'immunité collective était un concept tout à fait valable, aussi longtemps qu'il n'y avait pas de variant. Aujourd'hui, qui parle d'immunité collective dans les grands pays développés? Donc soyons honnêtes, voyons les faits. Il y a eu un pic à un certain moment donné, et le gouvernement, dans la gestion de la Covid, a évolué. Monsieur le ministre de la Santé vient de l'expliquer. Nous ne sommes plus dans une stratégie où l'on croit que l'on peut éradiquer complètement la Covid dans les jours à venir. Aucun pays au monde ne peut le faire. Il faut maintenant gérer de la manière la plus efficace pour protéger notre population.
Thank you, Honorable Acting Prime Minister. I inform you already, that's the last question. Honorable second member of Port Louis South and Port Louis Central.
B994.
Honorable Acting Prime Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Equal Opportunities Commission was established, as we all know, as an independent statutory body under the Equal Opportunities Act of 2008 to promote anti-discrimination and equal opportunity principles and policies throughout Mauritius. Following proclamation of the law, of the relevant law, the EOC became operational in May 2012. Now, according to Section 27.3 of the Act, the Commission shall work towards the elimination of discrimination and the promotion of equality of opportunity and good relations between persons of different status. So that is the first objective. B, keep under review the working of this Act and any relevant law and submit to the AG proposals for amending them if required. And then 27.3 goes on to explain in detail the responsibilities of the Commission in terms of investigating, attempting to reconcile parties, conducting and fostering research and educational programs, preparing appropriate guidelines and codes to avoid discrimination, and I won't go into all the details so as not to lose time. Now, it is considered that the EOC improves the human condition in general by empowering people and ensuring inclusiveness, by working towards elimination of discrimination, promotion of equality. And the grounds are listed out in section 2 of the EOA. Age, caste, color, creed, and so on. There is a long list, which I take it the honourable gentleman is familiar with. Now, I am informed that by the EOC that sections 9 to 16 of the Act prohibit discrimination in, I quote, employment activities, quote unquote. That is employment of persons, persons already employed, persons undergoing training, employment agencies, professions, trades, or occupation. The EOC considers complaints of discrimination on specified grounds and attempts to conciliate the employer with the employee. Where conciliation cannot resolve the complaint, it may be referred to the Equal Opportunities Tribunal, which is also set up under the Act, as the honourable gentleman well knows. Now, the tribunal then makes orders declaring the rights of the parties, because the questions refers precisely to orders. So the tribunal is empowered to make orders or recommendations. And the decision of the tribunal is then amenable to judicial review. Now, I am informed by the EOC that in the light of section 1184 of our Constitution, which provides that in the exercise of its functions, any commission established under the Constitution shall not be subject to the direction and control of any person or authority. Accordingly, the EOC does not investigate complaints relating to recruitment effected by these commissions. Now, in accordance with the advice that has been tendered by the Attorney General's Office, as at now, the EOC does not make orders relating to the employment of public officers as such. Employment of officers falls, in the public sector at least, falls within the realm of the Service Commission, such as the PSC, the DFSC, and the LGSC. A public officer or local government officer who has any grievance concerning his appointment or promotion or any disciplinary action can appeal to the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal set up under the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal Act of 2008. Mr. Deputy Speaker, accordingly it follows that the proposed amendments to empower the Commission do not arise if the honourable gentleman is referring to recruitment in the public sector.
Thank you,
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the question is very precise. Whether this government will give consideration to amend, if necessary, the Constitution to give power to the Equal Opportunity Commission and the Equal Opportunity Tribunal to make orders in respect of people working in the public sector. And this is a recommendation made by the Equal Opportunities Commission as far back as it in its report of 2014, where it states the Commission cannot entertain cases when it comes to the PSC, the LGSC, and the DFSC, and cannot investigate cases of discrimination in the public service, the judicial and legal services, and within the police force, and the fire services, and the prison services. So my question to the Honourable Acting Prime Minister is, will government
come with appropriate legislative amendment to empower the tribunal to investigate cases of discrimination in cases involving the PSC, the GLSC, and the DAFC.
Honorable Acting Prime Minister, please.
If the honourable gentleman is referring to recruitment, because the question speaks of employment, which can mean many things, acts done in the course of employment, conditions of employment. If the honourable gentleman is referring to recruitment, then we stand guided by the constitution of the land. And I wish to draw the attention of the honourable gentleman to the fact that no government has so far addressed this precise issue. When the law was voted in 2008, the then Prime Minister, the Labour Party Prime Minister, I can't remember whether the PMST was in government, yes, I think it was, explained clearly why the law provided what it provides and what would be subject to the Constitution, Section 118 of the Constitution. The Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal was enacted and a new section added to the Constitution, precisely to give the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal the possibility of reviewing decisions of the commissions. And I have taken the pain to look at the electoral manifestos of the MMM. I looked at the manifestos of 2010, 2014, which I myself authored, and there was no specific proposal to that effect. And I looked at the last MMM manifesto, where there are general suggestions for more transparency, but nothing specific. So what I want to say is that, as at now, this government, like previous governments, stands guided by the constitution of the country.
The acting Prime Minister is refusing to answer a very simple question. Will you, now that you are in government, bring the appropriate legislative change before this House so that a person who feels discriminated because he has not obtained an employment by the PSC or the police service or the prison can seize the Ekolopochi Commission and investigate a case of discrimination? Or will you perpetuate this discrimination between employees of the private sector and employees of the public sector?
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
May I first of all just draw your attention that an answer to a question cannot be insisted upon. So refusing is out of order, but I'll ask the acting Prime Minister to answer.
I have been as clear as can be by explaining that advice tendered by the Attorney General's Office is to the effect that the EOC's powers are subordinate to Section 1184 of the Constitution. And this has been repeatedly explained by different Prime Ministers in this House.
I'll allow one last question unless you're giving way. You're done. Honorable Bhagwan, please.
Can I ask the acting Prime Minister, how does he reconcile the fact that he himself, he made statement in the House, you can go and see in Hansard, even public statement, following requests made by the civil service trade unionists, representative of the trade union of the civil service, but the amendment should be brought in the way my honourable friend is stating here in his question, and the minister himself then, perhaps his language now has changed, but he's in government. When he was in the opposition, when he was then the porte-parole for the trade union matters, he made statement to that effect that changes should be made to the legislation, the constitution, to allow civil servants to complain or to make also redress.
The Honourable Gentleman seems to have misunderstood. Civil servants can certainly go to the EOC. Oh, pas un interromptoire. Écoutez, vous pas écouter moi?
Honorable Acting Prime Minister, order. Honorable, order. Order, honorable. Order on my left, please. Order on my left, Honorable Minister Tushar. Honorable Minister Tushar, order, please. Honorable, it's very good that you're folding your hand, but you should not be folding your hand to me.
No, I'm just...
Yes, I think you shouldn't be doing that because...
Respect to you.
Yes, I do. And respect ought to be given to each and every one. I'm here to... No, don't continue talking. I want maximum question, maximum answers. Least number of interruption. Thank you very much. And I think I've been very gentle explaining it to you. Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, firstly a remark. The Honourable Gentleman has purported to refer to a previous statement I would have made. Now, unless he can substantiate and read out precisely what I would have said, I think it is not proper to cast a slur on members of this House. Now, as regards public servants can certainly go to the Equal Opportunities Commission. Since 2015, the Honourable Gentleman might want to know that out of a total of 1,211 cases brought before the EOC, 879 were from the public sector. So 2/3 of all cases before the EOC are entered by public servants. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Acting Prime Minister. Honourable Second Member Paul North and Talon, you have about very less time, but we can accommodate your question.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. B995.
Honourable Acting Prime Minister, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I don't know whether I can be short because this is a question that requires some information.
At least to answer.
I'll try and provide as much information as I can within the time you will allow. Now, I am informed by the Information and Communication Technologies Authority that under Section 18M of the ICT Act, it is mandated to take steps to regulate or curtail the harmful and illegal content of the Internet and other information and communication services. Being given that both parts of the question are interlinked, it is precisely in this context that the ICTA had, in April 2021, launched a public consultation on proposed amendments to the ICT Act for regulating the use and addressing the abuse and misuse of social media in Mauritius with a view to protecting vulnerable citizens from such abuse. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as the responses received were mostly not in favour of the proposals contained in the consultation paper, the proposed amendments to the ITC Act were not followed through, thus in effect limiting the scope of the ICTA to effectively regulate and curtail harmful and illegal content on the Internet. However, the ICTA initiated, I am told, a direct engagement with Facebook, which is the most utilized social media network in Mauritius. Since September 2020, I understand that the ICTA contacted the policy arm of Facebook for Sub-Saharan Africa to discuss the issues of problematic posts on the platform and their removal. A number of online meetings were held with Facebook's policy team for the African region, notably on 21st May 2021, 2nd June 2021, and 7th July 2021. The engagement was initiated and sustained by ICTA with the objective of exerting collaborative control over problematic posts. Mr. Deputy Speaker, these problematic posts were flagged to the Facebook team, but the procedures which Facebook seemed to adopt remained somewhat obtuse. That is, insensitive, as they were according to its own standards, which do not necessarily always suit the interests of our population, and that the posts would remain on the platform for weeks while Facebook would deliberate on whether they should be removed or not. In the majority of cases, the requests for removal were turned down by Facebook. Mr. Deputy Speaker, on all occasions, ICTA underlined in no uncertain terms the real risk to the delicate social fabric of our country. ICTA even made a proposal to Facebook for the signing of a memorandum of understanding, specifying the areas of collaboration, but this proposal was not accepted by Facebook. The fact that the posts and comment threads generated were more often than not in Mauritian Creole was another factor raised by, with Facebook. And Facebook announced its plan, this is well known to the public, to recruit moderators so that problematic content in Mauritian Creole could be addressed. But no recruitment of moderators has been effected by Facebook. So all the efforts on the part of ICTA to try and gain momentum in terms of engaging with Facebook did not yield the expected result. There was no commitment from Facebook to collaborate. In July 2021, the Ministry of Information Technology addressed a correspondence to Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook. I understand it's now called Meta, requesting a meeting with him on these issues. The office of the CEO referred the ministry to the Facebook Director of Public Policy for Africa for further discussions, one Mr. Boakai. In July 2021, an online meeting was held with Mr. Boakai and his collaborators, focusing on greater collaboration and the Computer Emergency Response Team, CERTMU, as being the only reporting agency to Facebook to ensure consistency and efficient coordination, as is the case in other countries. Now, following a government decision of 6th August 2021, the CERTMU has now been designated as the sole agency reporting to Facebook. Now, there was a second follow-up meeting on 16th August, and Facebook proposed a program of activities and workshops to be conducted in Mauritius to build awareness on responsible online behavior and so on. The details of these activities are still being worked out. However, I wish to point out, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that protecting vulnerable persons against cybercrime is not the mandate of ICTA only. There are other organizations involved in this task, such as the police and, of course, the Ministry of IT through the CERTMU. In addition, the Finance Miscellaneous Provisions Act 2021 amended Section 46 of the ICT Act to bring more clarity in regard to the offence of any person using an information and communication technologies to send a message which is obscene, indecent, offensive, abusive, threatening, menacing, false, or misleading. As colleagues are aware, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act 2003 is being repealed, and a new bill, the Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Bill, is before the House to be debated today. The new bill is aligned with the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime and the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection. Now, the new bill has been drafted considering new forms of cybercrime that has emerged, and it introduces a number of provisions to address the issues raised by the Honourable Lady. For instance, the establishment of a National Cybersecurity Committee to advise government, the criminalisation of the misuse of fake profiles, cyberbullying, cyber extortion and revenge pornography with heavy penalties, placing the responsibility on the administrator of pages on social networking services and internet-based messaging services to moderate and control undesirable content, and a definition of undesirable content as including online content that is deceptive or inaccurate, posted with intent to defame, threaten, abuse, or mislead the public, and so on. I do not want here to debate the bill which is on the agenda. Suffice it to say that for its part, the police cybercrime unit, with the support of the police IT unit, has been investigating offences under the ICT Act and the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act 2003. And these two units are now working on a police strategic transformation plan 2021-2025, which will encompass new measures to combat cybercrime more effectively, including cyberbullying. Mr. Deputy Speaker, let me end by saying that combating cybercrime is a matter of public interest, and government will leave no stone unturned to address this problem through a wide array of measures as stated, including consolidation of the legislative framework.
Thank you, Acting Prime Minister. The table has been advised that PQB 1004, B1005, and B1006 have been withdrawn. Unfortunately, Honourable Second Member, the time is over. Honourable Member, First Member for Portland South and Portland Central. Yes?
B1009.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker. With regard to Part A, I am informed by the NHDC Limited that the Design and Implementation Unit was set up in May 2019 to optimize use of in-house human resource capacity so as to reduce dependency on external consultants and thereby limiting expenditure in terms of consultancy fees. Now, the unit has since then been fully involved in the elaboration of project concepts, architectural design, structural design, mechanical and electrical design, procurement exercise, and contract management. I am further informed that at present, the unit is responsible for the following ongoing projects. One, the design and implementation of 1,050 housing units being funded under the Saudi Development Fund, the construction of which is to be carried out at Montgou, Bassin, Petit Bel Air, and Cascavel. And secondly, design and implementation of 224 housing units at La Valette. Having regard to Part B of the question, according to information provided by the NHDC Limited, the Design and Implementation Unit has a staff which comprises one project manager, one mechanical/electrical engineer, two trainee engineers, three technical officers, one computer-aided design specialist, and one clerk. As regards Part C, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am tabling the requested information.
Thank you, Acting Prime Minister. Honourable Member?
Yes.
You want to see the paper first?
Yes, I would like to have a copy of the document that has been
Please,
tabled.
do you need first?
Yes. Can I ask the Honourable Minister to confirm to the House whether the project manager of that department, Mr. Jagru, was appointed at the head of this department before he was even registered as an engineer. And as a consequence of this, the NHDC has had to have recourse to external training. Of course, I'm waiting for the document to come, to a certain Mr. Govin Kupusamy to the tune of 6.48 million rupees, which is very unusual that someone be appointed and he's not qualified as an engineer to sign for design that is being done, and external training is being provided to him.
Acting Prime Minister.
I regret to say that I have no idea, Mr. Deputy Speaker. As I have explained before, I am not involved in the daily running of the NHDC Limited. I do not know the gentleman who is at the head of this unit, and if a specific question had been put, of course I would have been happy to respond. I do not have the information requested at hand.
Honourable First Member, again.
Mr. Jagru was appointed way before the minister became minister by his predecessor, Mr. Mahen Jagru. No. Now, can I ask the Honourable Minister about the two projects that he has just mentioned, whether the actual design of that project, be it architectural and engineering design, has been done by the Design Implementation Unit, or has the NSGC had to have recourse to external consultant, notwithstanding the fact that this department is now in operation?
Again, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would have been delighted to provide the information had it been asked. What I do have at hand are a description of the nature of these two projects, but I cannot say I see that the short-term objectives of the units include the design and implementation of the housing, 1,500 housing units under the line of credit from the Exim Bank of India. No, I cannot. But again, if the information is asked, either in this House or if the Honourable Gentleman wants to write to me, I shall provide the information.
Honourable Member, you have another question?
It was part of my question, actually. So can I have a third question?
Yes, I'm giving you another question.
Thank you. Honourable Minister, Mr. Jagru is the head of this department, and I've been managing director of the NSDC before. Since he has become head of this department, there is a very unusual happening there. All managers are being issued credit cards, including him. Because of him, I understand all managers having credit card. And I'm going to table the decision that has been taken at the NSDC. It's a signed document with a certain limit, but with a view it can be increased in the future. It is as if the NSDC is going on a spending spree. And I ask the Honourable Minister to look into this state of affairs if he's not aware. And I would be glad to talk to him even afterwards, because this is very unusual at the level of the NSDC.
So let me just make one remark. It is an authenticated document.
Yeah, it is signed by people who have sat in the tender committee approving that credit cards be issued to managers at the NSDC, which is very unusual.
Thank you very much. Honourable Acting Prime Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am pained to say this, but I believe this is an abuse of supplementary questions, and I will explain why. Standing Order 26 is very clear. It says supplementary questions may only be put for the further elucidation of information requested, and a supplementary question must not introduce a matter not included in the original question. Now, consider the question, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'm being asked the duties and responsibilities of the unit, the staff posted thereat, what training, I try to understand what this means, professional and training benefited, I suppose it means training offered to the staff, who dispensed same and the cost thereof. And I have provided that information. Now I'm being asked whether staff or managers have been issued with credit cards. What does this have to do with the question? It is clear that the person answering the question will not have such information. Supplementary question becomes an excuse to level broad allegations with no answerability on the part of the question.
Order. I'll listen to all point of orders, you know that, but let me have some orders so that I can listen. Yes, your point of order, Honourable.
Même point soulevé par le Premier ministre par intérim. C'est malheureux, Monsieur le Vice-président, que quand le Premier ministre par intérim est acculé, il n'arrive pas à répondre aux questions, il trouve des échappatoires.
Order. I think I've given you the pleasure of listening to you. But as of now, it's improper for me, being in the chair, to allow a member to cause any kind of expression to a member, acculé ou tout ça. It's not proper right now. So we'll just move with further question. We'll give more time for question and answers. So I think proper note is taken in this House that supplementary question must arise out of the main question. The table has been advised. Order. I'm going to be glad to give you one more point of order or a warning. Thank you. So the table has been advised. PQ. Order. I think it's almost lunchtime. Those who want to go for lunch, they can. I'll continue. The table has been advised. Order. The table has been advised that PQB 1010, PQB 1015, PQB 1022, B 1030, B 1057, B 1064, B 1065 have been withdrawn. Honorable First Member.
In the light, I've withdrawn B 1010 because I'm going to meet with the same kind of.
That's very gentlemanly. It's appreciated by the House.
I'll go to B 1011.
Thank you very much. Next question. Yes, B1011 is to Honorable Minister.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. During the period February 2015 to date, the State Trading Corporation has paid a total amount of 147.9 million rupees as legal fees and associated costs in Singapore, Mauritius, India, and UK with regards to the cases of Betamax Limited. In addition, following to the judgment of the Privy Council in the favor of Betamax Limited, the latter has submitted to the STC a claim for cases at the level of the Privy Council and the Supreme Court of Mauritius. Both claims are being followed by the legal teams of STC, and the amounts have not yet been finalized.
Thank you. Honorable Member.
You're not tabling anything, are you? No, because I requested for a breakdown. The Honourable Minister gave a lump sum, but is he tabling the breakdowns thereof or not?
Well, I've just stated that
140.
there are matters still pending at the Supreme Court and the Privy Council, so we are not in presence of the total claim.
Next question.
So, can I ask the Honourable Minister whether in regard to the original advice tendered to the STC and to which STC based itself for the resiliation of the contract, he will state whether a claim has already been received, finalized, and payment effected to that legal advisor, and to have the name and the sum paid to that legal advisor who has, in my opinion, so wrongly advised the government of Mauritius.
Mr. Expression of opinion is not permitted in question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy. Thank you.
Please answer the question.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I would be glad if the honourable member could come with a specific question, because
This is scandalous. My question is broad, and I've asked to table all expenses incurred in relation to the Betamax case versus the state of Mauritius. Why are you using subterfuge not to answer this question.
Not using subterfuge not to answer this question, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I've clearly mentioned that there are cases still pending at the Supreme Court, and the fees have not been finalized, so the claims also. Sir.
I have a last question. Would you give it to Order on the left. Order on the left. And order on the right as well. Question, please.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I'm asking the question through you. Would you not agree with me that my question was explicit insofar as that particular information that I've just asked?
Order, I listen to everything. I'm a patient in my job. I listen to you. I don't want... Order.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir.
Let him finish. We'll listen to him, we'll listen to you, we'll listen to everybody who have a right. Please. Your last question.
Insofar as the identity and the sum paid to that legal advisor, which was many years ago, we are talking about six, seven years ago, whether by now, and my question being so broad as to ask all legal costs that has been incurred, that it would not have been, the minister should have been able to tell us this information today.
So I got your question.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, since the honourable member is insisting, I will table the different fees paid to the different lawyers, but what I will not table is the fees which are yet to be determined because the case is ongoing at the Supreme Court and the Privy Council with, in respect of the local legal representatives. The documents that I will table is with regard to Deepka Mishra, Lahoti Advocates, Advani & Co., Raja & Tan, Lords Michaud, Tim Maxwell, Bureau Francis Lefebvre, Singapore International Arbitration Center, Island Resort Limited Mauritius, Westin, which is not part of your question. I'm willing to table that as well. It is with respect to accommodation of the lawyers, Alan Chichoy, James Guthrie, and Roy Whitty King LLP.
Order. He's tabling. Please, Minister.
I undertook to table. Give me time.
Minister, look at me. Answer. Answer to me. You done? Done?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next question, Honourable First Member. Next question.
Next PQ, next question.
Next PQ.
Can I have one question?
Unfortunately, that's why I said one last question. Okay. If you were willing to give
10,
it, I would.
B1012.
Mr.
There's a formal request for food.
In fact, it is open for those who do not think it's important to be here, questioning or answering. Food is available. I want PQs and answers because I'm here to work. PQs, answer, please.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, on the 22nd of October 2021, government agreed to the setting up of a dedicated special purpose vehicle to be known as the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited to fast-track implementation of the National Flood Management Program. The company will initially be called upon to implement major drain projects across the island, particularly in highly vulnerable areas, as would be identified by the Land Drainage Authority. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as at date, the company has not yet been incorporated. It would therefore be premature for me to comment on the matter in the manner in which the company will operate or will allocate contracts. However, I can confirm that the principle of good governance will have to be observed by the new entity. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deputy Speaker, sir, according to that same cabinet decision, mentioned about a sum of 10.4 billion rupees
that this company is going to spend. Now, can I ask the Honourable Minister at least whether this company, because a cabinet decision is not clear in that respect, whether it will be a contractor, like the DWC was, the once upon a time DWC was, or will it be an agency awarding contract, just like the NDU is actually? This is my question.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I've already replied, we have received a decision from Cabinet to incorporate. This is being worked upon, so en temps et lieu, on va répondre.
Don't be sorry, you'll have your chance.
I'm quite baffled by this answer.
No, don't make comment. Look at me, put questions.
The cabinet takes a decision without clarity or purpose. It takes a decision not knowing what is going to be what is the purpose of that company. What kind of cabinet decision is that?
No. No, Honourable Minister, I've been listening. Maybe you will be. Maybe you as well. But for now, I have rightfully grasped the answer of the Minister. Minister, I've grasped your previous answer. Do you have anything more to add in reply? Thank you very much. Lunchtime.